again, Tiny E Paper and my friend. Welcome to MyFlora Fridays. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited. And before you go, any further, I just wanted to say, congratulations, lady. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy for you doing this.
Thank you. Erica and I have been friends now for, gosh, it's probably been for maybe 5 years.
I'd say at
Right,
least.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, we're both obviously in the cannabis space doing very different things. And I am so excited to have you on the show so you can talk about you and what you do and who you are and where you're going and where you've been and all the things that come with Tiny Erica. So, Erica, you know you better than I know you. So go ahead and tell everybody who you are, what you do, and why you're here.
Hi, everyone. My name's Erica Halverson. I am the founder and CEO of Tiny Eat Toilet Paper. And right now, what I'm doing is I am begging for money. I'm fundraising. But what I will be doing is I will be manufacturing the first ever 100% pure industrial hemp toilet paper. No other fillers, no trees, no bamboo, no chemicals. And for the first time, sustainable toilet paper. Right now, there's things going on with sustainability like the EU CSDR, CSRD, with ESG reporting for emissions. And there's no such thing as a sustainable toilet paper because trees and bamboo do not qualify. So that is the problem I'm solving is sustainability these days is more than just a buzzword. It is a mission statement for a lot of corporations out there, government entities. There is a law in the United States that all government entities have to buy the most sustainable products they can to make those entities run. Not a lot of people know that. So when I come out with this sustainable toilet paper, there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be required to buy it. So that's immediate ROI, folks, which is
Wow.
fantastic. But I need to get the money to do that. And what the money will do is I'm looking for $500,000 for a seed round. I have a partnership with the largest toilet paper manufacturer in the world. Their name is Valmet. Anybody that's in paper knows who these guys are. They make all the machines for anybody that does toilet paper manufacturing, like Georgia Pacific, and they can also white label for folks. So those are who my partners, that's my toilet paper manufacturer partner. And then I'm also partnered with the only soft paper versus rigid paper industrial hemp pulping company in the world. And those are going to be the partners that I go into this entire smorgasbord with. So I'm really excited not to have to be doing this by myself because I couldn't anyway. So that is
You
what
don't,
I am doing.
you don't want to make bathtub toilet paper in your house?
No.
So cannabis is an amazing plant. It's incredibly useful. We've been using it for 10,000 years for all kinds of things, food, fuel, fiber, pharmaceuticals, medicine, all kinds
So
of
many
stuff.
things.
And up until the 1937 Tax Act, everybody in the United States was growing at least some portion of hemp if they had land. And I believe it was actually a requirement to a lot, was it 10% or 20% of your
I think
land
it's
had to be,
10%.
I think it was 10%. You had to allot that to grow hemp. Now, in 1937, when alcohol prohibition was ending, Harry Anslinger found himself being out of a job, and he created a new job for himself, which became
Cannabis
the
czar.
yeah, well, it became the was it the Bureau of Narcotics? It became the DEA, right?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bureau of Narcotics, I think, is what it was called. And so he created this position, and promptly he and William Randolph Hearst and Lamont DuPont, petrochemicals and paper,
And
launched.
Rockefeller was the third one.
I don't know. I haven't heard about him.
He makes
Uh,
textiles.
they
And his,
wanted to eliminate the competition, and their competition was hemp. And so they launched a huge racially driven smear campaign on hemp. And as we all know, hemp is cannabis, and so is marijuana. And marijuana was in the Mexican pharmacopoeia in the 1800s. It's been around for a long time. This word has been used throughout history in many different cultures, but they decided to pick up that word and run with it because that's what the Mexicans were using. And it sounded bad. And the jazz musicians, the black people, were smoking the devil's lettuce and all this stuff. So they were able to very efficiently wipe out the competition by using marijuana and basically,
Reefer madness.
yeah, and because marijuana is cannabis sativa and so is hemp, they eliminated the competition because hemp is cannabis. And I don't think that the general public knew that it was going to take their medicine out of their cabinets because everybody had cannabis tincture in their medicine cabinets because it was such an effective medicine for so many things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got a stomach ache, take some cannabis. You've got a headache, take some cannabis. Whatever your ailment is, take some cannabis.
Because we've got that endocannabinoid system already in our bodies.
Yeah, we do. And so that is where we kind of, as we eliminated hemp and farmers were not, it wasn't illegal, but they slapped a huge tax on it. So it basically made it impossible for anybody to do anything with hemp. They couldn't grow it, they couldn't trade it, they couldn't sell it, they couldn't buy it. And so it just went away. And with that, the infrastructure to process hemp also went away in the United States. So here now, we don't have the capabilities, we don't have the infrastructure, and we don't have the logistical abilities to transport hemp for processing. We don't have the factories to process the hemp into various things like textiles and hemp and or paper and cardboard and everything, right? And so you're really finding it tough because the hemp, right, is there.
But I'm building a supply chain in a nascent industry that doesn't exist here anymore.
I was talking to Chris Fumps the other day, and he was saying, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. So, if you're a hemp farmer and you have to transport your hemp over about 150 miles to get it processed, it then becomes not worth it because the transportation is going to cost more than
The
being,
material.
yeah. And so, how do you see this issue being solved other than you're going to build a factory in your backyard?
Other than I'm building my factory in Europe.
Okay.
That's where I'm going. I'm right now, it's impossible to start a manufacturing process here in the United States. And a lot of that is not just because the capital isn't there, but because right now we're in tariff and trade wars and things like that. And uncertainty is the worst thing you can do to a P&L. And in order to build all of these new manufacturing supply chains here, it's going to cost billions and billions of dollars. It's going to take decades. And we just don't have that time and we don't have that money. So I'm going to Europe because they have the infrastructure there. They've had legal industrial hemp for a long time and they do have that infrastructure around there. I'm primarily going to France. France is the number 2 highest volume industrial hemp country that's growing it, which a lot of people don't know, but that's what's been the most difficult thing here in the States for me to even get people to understand why, when the Farm Bill passed, why industrial hemp failed and never got off the ground. And it's for a few reasons. This crop is not like any other crop that you can grow. It's not like corn, it's not like soy, where if you grow it, they will come because there's
Mm,
always going to be people that need corn, no matter what variety you're growing and things like that. What the farmers found, what some of us found out, is that if the farmers with industrial hemp don't know who the end use buyer is, what the end use product is going to be made out of that seed, they don't know who they can sell it to, because the
hmm
variety that I use to make toilet paper is a different variety than they use to make horse bedding or kitty litter or hempcrete. And that's
hmm
because of the different structure of the plant with the different ratio to bast to hurd and things like that. I use mostly bast fibers. I want really long bast fibers. So I need a variety that grows long, has very little hurd in the core, and has a nice, as chunky of a stem as I can get. They want the opposite of that for other varieties. So when 2018 hit, 2019, even into 2020, I was getting phone calls and emails almost every single day from farmers who were trying to sell me this stuff that was sitting in their fields, sometimes sitting in their field for a year and
hmm
begging me to buy it for any amount of money because they didn't have anybody to sell it to.
hmm
Not only because of the different variety differences and what it was used for, but because I couldn't get any capital from my end use company in order to buy that stuff from them. All of the initial capital, when the Farm Bill passed and everybody got excited, they put all their money into the farmers and into the processors. And they thought that the rest of the supply chain was going to build itself. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not how Econ 101 supply and demand works. The downstream supply chain creates the demand for the upstream supply. And investors, it was odd to me because when they were investing into the medicinal side, all you heard about was vertical integration, vertical integration. Make sure your cannabis company is vertically integrated. What does that mean? It means you had to have the entire supply chain within your wheelhouse so that you
Mm-hmm.
weren't third partying, vendoring out all of these different parts of your supply chain, which adds cost and it takes away quality and it leads to more testing having to be done because you lose control of the part of that process. People didn't understand that on the industrial hemp side. We needed to also vertically integrate that side of the plant. So they just kind of left half of us off the table. And we're sitting around going, wait, I need to make this stuff. I'm trying to make paper and I can buy tons of your guys' stuff, but I don't have any money to buy your stuff and you're not growing the right seeds I need.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why the industry stalled in the first place. If we don't fix those problems, we're going to have the same problems. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I've been all over and I
Mm-hmm.
really have been focusing almost every single post on industrial hemp, why we have need to focus on this plant, why it failed and why we can't repeat mistakes, what investors have been missing. And it's because we can't afford for this plant to fail again here. Farmers
Mm-hmm.
can't afford to be screwed over again, especially now that they're getting screwed over in so many other ways.
Right. And
So
there are so many farmers that have left the
yes,
hemp industry. They don't, and for a while everybody was growing for CBD, right? That's
yes.
what they turned to. They're like, "Oh, we'll just grow for flower. It'll be awesome." But when
Medicine,
we had
medicine, medicine, medicine.
yeah, and when you have that many farmers all growing for CBD, now then we got an oversupply of CBD that the price of CBD tanked, which then kind of forced everybody to figure out how they're going to use this CBD, and that's kind of how we got all this, you
Yeah.
know, THCO and HHC and THCP. It's all getting made from the CBD that was left over.
Yep.
And since then, a lot of farmers have just said it's not worth it. Even if it's for CBD now, I can't get the price that I used to get. And they've turned back to, their beets or their alfalfa
Yep.
because there is no money in hemp. And then they could grow grain, they could grow fiber, they could grow multi-use crops, but like you said, there's nobody to buy
They
it
sell it
because
to
there's nobody to buy it there because nobody there can process it. And it's just like this, you know, who was it that
perpetual circle
y-
thing. So there
yeah.
is good news to this. And this is one of the great things about this plant and why we need to always be talking about it holistically as a whole plant. If any of the farmers that got out of the industrial hemp game, got out of the CBD game, and they've been growing their alfalfa, growing their soy, growing their corn, all that kind of stuff, they can take even 10% of their field and get back into industrial hemp at any point they want to, as long as they work with people like me that tell them what kind of seeds to put in the ground, and then I'll guarantee I'll buy it from them if they actually take that time and grow it, because it's a rotational crop that grows in 3 to 5 months. So it's great to put next to other rotational crops. It adds nitrogen and oxygen to the soil, so it gives you higher yield and better quality product when you start infiltrating. But when you start introducing this plant into your crops, you can decide one season you want to grow it, the next season you don't. That's what's so versatile about it. But until companies like mine get the capital we need to work with farmers, we can't get there. And I can work with farmers all day long. I've got seed propagators that I know have the variety that I need. I'll help you get those things. I'll help you understand how to grow it,
Hmm.
but I've got to have the money. And I want to be able to guarantee to you two things. Not only that I will buy that if you grow it, they will come, but I guarantee I'll pay you a fair market price. I'm one of those people, I don't want to over commoditize this plant before it needs to be. And we've commoditized it before it's even had a chance to show its value in the value chain of economics within the entire structure of cannabis.
Hmm.
I think I actually commented on a post that was talking about the TAM, the total addressable market value of the cannabis industry, and how it's gone lower and lower and dropped and dropped. And I made the point, because you're not addressing the total market, you're only addressing the medicinal side. And if you started actualizing the capability of the volume and the economics of what industrial plant has the ability to do to the total addressable market for all of cannabis, that's when we start giving this plant a fair chance. But right now, it's not even represented in any of the metrics that the majority of the industry is using to justify whether this is a successful industry or not.
I see. So we talked about hemp source. So what kind of what strains are out there that would be useful for what you need it for?
That's a great question. And I cannot answer that right now. I have been so out of the loop talking on the raw material side because I've been so focused on getting the funding I need. All of the varieties I need, I'm already working with my pulping company that are coming from France. They've been working with not only hemp, but with flax and straw and a bunch of other raw materials and waste materials to make pulp and slurry out of them to make a bunch of different products. And so my partners are the ones that have all of that knowledge right now. Once I get back into it, I'm going to know a lot more of that, but there's a lot more research that has to be done. And that's the other thing that stalled is there were some organizations like the National Hemp or gosh, now I'm forgetting all these ones because it's been so long since I've been around. But there were some of these organizations like the National Hemp Association and some others that were starting to work on databases with farmers and understanding this is what you plant if you want to go to textiles and things like that. A lot of that has ceased to exist. A lot of it has stopped. We're not growing anymore. They're not doing any research with farmers anymore. A lot of those associations don't exist anymore. A lot of the hemp funds that were created back in 2023 are gone now. So the entire industry has stalled in the United States, all of it. So there's a lot of research and education that I need to do on the strain side. A lot of that's going to come from Europe once I'm able to jump back into that. Right now, I'm so focused on fundraising that's where 100% of my time is going. But I would love to come back and answer those questions.
Well, I know that Rutgers here in New Jersey was doing field trials on fiber types to do things like look at the composition and figure out the tensile strength of different types. I think they were growing something like 23, I want to say 23 types to test for that. And they have like a special lab with special machines that look at special things. I know that they applied for a grant. I don't know if they got it. And this was a few years ago, probably 2023, maybe 2024. But
I thought only the University of Mississippi was the only university that was
nope.
doing.
Nope, pretty much all the ag colleges, ag
Okay.
university, state agriculture universities are doing some sort of hemp something. Like, oh God.
Well, I spoke at
Always,
the U of Texas. I was a guest speaker at one of their ag seminars, so I know that they've been working with it.
yeah, like CSU, Rutgers, the Cornell has a hemp
Yeah.
program. Like there's a ton of schools with hemp programs now that are doing research, but a lot
For
of them
industrial hemp, right?
um I think both.
Okay.
I think both, because I think Stockton also had a program where they were looking at hemp plastics,
Mhm.
not just composite plastics. So a lot of the plastics that are hemp plastics out there are just plastic with hemp fibers like incorporated into the plastic. They're not true
Right.
hemp plastics, like plastic made from hemp.
Right.
So it's a little bit misleading, I think, in that respect. And it would be really nice because, they say that you can make plastic out of hemp, but I don't know anybody who's actually doing it.
I do. My product developer who helped me get to 100% industrial hemp paper, he has made 100% industrial hemp plastic. I wish I could find it really easy right now because I'd show you. It's a cone stuffer thing that he did. It's got a little funnel on it and a tamper in it.
But
And
it's
the
not
whole
something that's available and out on the market, right? You can't
problem is there's no infrastructure to make it
infrastructure.
on a commercial basis, so he does it in his
Right.
garage.
So yes, you can make toilet paper. Yes, you can make plastic.
Yeah.
Do we have access to those things? No, we don't, because we can't make it at scale because of the infrastructure problem. So that's crazy. And I feel like that's a lot of, we see on the social media like hemp can do this and hemp can do that and we can make this out of hemp and we can make that out of hemp and it's like we
Great. So let
could
it.
Yeah, we
Allow
could.
it to do that. Please just let it do all that.
Yeah. And I also see, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I also see the memes that float around that say hemp can produce 4 times as much paper as a tree
But
or
yes,
trees, the same
yeah,
acreage of,
yeah.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know that I've seen data to back that up, but
There
that's
is,
the
and
claim.
that's one of those things that's a little easier to extrapolate because just knowing the growing pattern, how you grow hemp compared to trees and the type of trees that are used for paper are a specific variety. And it's that stat's been around for a long time because it's the data's been around for a long time. Here's the thing that people, if they would look at this the other way around, it would validate us so much more. The reason why Rockefeller, Hearst, and DuPont and Anslinger were going after us because of competition, it validates everything we're trying to say. Like we should use that as now we can prove that it does all these things because that's why these guys who were billionaires tried to cut this thing off. And I don't know why investors aren't looking at that going, wow, that's if Rockefeller thought that this was good enough to bury it, golly gosh, that seems like it's got some ROI in there. And the dots aren't being connected with this plant. And I don't know if it's because it's just unsexy and like celebrities don't want anything to do with it because it's just being toilet paper and horse bedding. It's not being something that makes you feel better. So it's just some block with the industrial side that immediately, even when I start talking about it with some medicinal side folks, they're like, and I'm
But
like,
wouldn't it
wait,
be
wait, wait,
cool?
wait, wait.
Wouldn't it be cool though if we could, start packaging our medicines in things like hemp paper or hemp plastic? And this industry uses so much plastic, so
That
much waste
was,
material.
I have to tell you, that was the exact reason why I started my first company, Tiny E Paper, where I was making business cards and paper bags and then envelopes. The whole reason why I started working at Jewel and Pax. And at the time, they were the same company. And so I was working partly on the cannabis side with Pax and partly on the nicotine side with Jewel. And the Pax device was the first vaporizer I ever used to vaporize my medicine. And it changed my entire cannabis life. Like, oh my God, now I can do this everywhere. So I knew that I was going to work for PAX at some time. When I got into the company finally, because I stalked the crap out of them and finally got in, I was looking at this tiny little pod and
Hmm.
this little battery next to it, and it's surrounded by these mounds of tree trash because we're required to. We're the only industry that's required to have all of this additional paper and plastic packaging for childproofness and things like that. And I started thinking to myself, why are we not being responsible and making this from a product that's within our own wheelhouse? So that's when
Hmm.
my light bulb went off. Is I was like, if I could get the entire industry to make all of their packaging, their labeling, all of their receipt rolls, all of the paper we use in a cannabis industry, we could be the model of sustainability for everybody else and completely validate this industry. So that's actually how I got the idea to do my first company.
And
It,
it's interesting because this industry is full of tree hugging hippies, supposedly.
but we're
You'd
selling
think
our
they'd be.
medicine in this asshole way.
Yeah. It's so funny that you mentioned Juul, the smoking device that everybody was using for a while, because, and this is a side story, we were watching that documentary that they had on Netflix about, the history of vaporizing and how they made the Juul, and it was really cool and everything. And I remember like literally like pointing at the TV. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Erica." And Brett was like, "Holy shit, that is Erica." It was
Yeah.
really funny because I didn't know. Like, I think you had mentioned that you were going to be on a Netflix special, but like, it like went in one ear and out the other. I thought, cool. And then we saw it, and I was just like, "Holy shit, that's
So I'm also in one on Hulu. There's
Erica!" Okay.
another one. And the only reason for that is because I'm in two books, and those two documentaries were based on the books. And the only reason why I'm in the books is because I didn't have to sign an NDA like people post when Jewel and Pax split. I didn't have to sign an NDA, so I could talk about whatever I wanted. So I did.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. I feel like they kind of got. I don't know. I don't want to get on my soapbox or
They
anything
got
or take sides.
scapegoated, goaded, and lambasted. They got targeted because they were a great product. And yeah, we could do a whole nother show based on just that.
Yeah, and I do get, the lung, like, what did they call it? The lung disease that people were getting from vaping or whatever. But that
Popcorn
wasn't,
lung.
yeah, and but I feel like that wasn't because of them. It's something that happened. You fix the problem. And in terms of like having to take away all of the flavors because children, it's like, Jesus Christ.
So I have to tell you this because this will kind of break down how ridiculous the whole thing with the jewel bans and the flavor bans was. So I was part of a multi-jurisdictional grand jury trial and did hours of this testimony stuff. This case has already been settled and all this. I literally had the other attorney look at me and say, I know for a fact you were going after kids because adults don't like mangoes.
I'm sorry. I like mangoes.
What?
I would
I think it's like the most liked fruit of any adult survey I've seen. And the reason why we came out with the flavors we came out with Jewel is because we actually did blind taste tests of all these different flavors with actual adult smokers. And by far, mango was everyone's favorite. But I literally had the attorney go, that's why we know you're going after kids. Adults don't like mangoes.
Adults don't
You're
like
ridiculous.
fun. Adults don't like candy. Adults don't like
Ugh.
pop. They don't like ice cream.
Yeah. And adults
Adults are
also don't
boring.
remember when adults were kids and doing all the crap that we're now lambasting the kids for, and then we're punishing the adults for. It's
Right.
crazy. How dare you
Right.
punish a company because you couldn't parent your child?
Or because the gas stations weren't, doing their
Right.
job IDing people correctly.
Yeah.
Like,
So we aren't going to punish the gas station. We're going to go ahead and punish Juul and take it away from all of those responsible adults who actually want to stop smoking and don't want to taste nicotine.
no, but yeah, that was a great documentary.
They used my voice a lot more than they used my image. So my 15 minutes.
Yay. I hope that's not your only 15 minutes though. All right. So you live in California. You've since changed addresses, but your old house, your little house that you lived in for a long time that had that cute little front yard, you were doing some education stuff right outside in your front yard, as people were walking by or roller skating by, or
Yeah.
I would love for you to talk about that because I feel like that was an eye-opening experience, not just for you, but for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was fun. And actually, just an anecdote before the story. When I moved back to Long Beach, I left for a year. That was the homeless year. Left for a year. And I came back. And during the summer, I went to the local beach that I used to go to all the time that I could literally walk to from my house. And it was my first time being back there. I was sitting on the beach for maybe 20 minutes. Somebody walked by and said, you're the hemp lady. It just gave me so much
Yay.
validation. So what I did is I had a great little house. I had a backyard and a front yard. And a friend of mine were calling industrial hemp the front yard cannabis because
Mm-hmm.
it had just passed the farm bill, federally legal and all that stuff. So I had a friend, I don't even remember how I got the first seeds I got. But I got a bunch of these industrial hemp seeds from somebody that I was working with or partnering with or trying to work with. And I was like, what am I going to do with these things? So I looked around at myself and I had already had my industrial hemp paper that I already had. I've got my rolls of paper right over here, but I was looking at these rolls of paper and I started making signs out of my rolls of industrial hemp paper. And I'm like, if I put this outside, I can prove that industrial hemp paper is water resistant. And I was like, I'm just going to grow industrial hemp in my front yard and I'm going to put signs all over it. And I'm going to educate people. I'm going to talk about this isn't weed, even though it looks like it, might even smell like it a little bit. And I did that for 3 years in a row. And I think the most I ever had, I went all up my drive and I think I had maybe 10 gigantic, I had 5-gallon pots that I
Mm-hmm.
put these. Sometimes I put 4 seeds in each. And I had my best crop was I had 20-foot high stalks right in my front yard, right in downtown Long Beach. And one of my signs said things that are worse than industrial hemp: McDonald's, racism, heroin, bigotry, like all of these things. And people kept stopping and taking pictures. I had one sign that said, "No, really, it's not weed. This is industrial hemp. It was legalized with the 2018 Farm Bill. There's over 10,000 things we can make with this product, such as the paper this sign is made out of." And yeah, it was amazing. I had rocking chairs out there and a fire pit, so I would sit out and just be smoking a joint or having my coffee in the morning or a cocktail in the afternoon. And as people were walking by, they'd stop and they'd be like, what is this?" They'd start talking and we'd have a 25-minute to 45-minute conversation about this plant that they never even knew existed. And there was
Mhm.
no problem talking about this plant. And even when I would be sitting inside and people couldn't see me inside, I would watch people outside and they'd stop and read every single sign, take pictures, and it was amazing. And the one year that I didn't do it right away, I had people walking by going, "Where's the plants? Where's the plants?" I'm like, "Okay, now I have to do this." And I immediately the next day went out and put some seeds in the ground. So yeah, it was really awesome. It was really amazing just to watch people's expression, to watch them
Mhm.
learn something new about something they thought they already knew. The street that I lived on, the house that I did that in, was 3 doors down from where Bradley from Sublime lived when he died. I was
Oh.
3 doors down from the house. So that's how cannabis friendly the whole Long Beach area is. But I was amazed at how many people that were in cannabis or thought they knew cannabis had no idea about this other plant that's part of the family. So it was just very validating and it just gave me a lot of
I
attention
think
to
it's
do
so
it.
cool that you got to do that. And word to the audience, don't grow hemp out in the open because you do have to have a license to grow hemp in all 50 states. And if you want to grow hemp, it does count towards your plant count if you're in a home grow state.
So
So
what's funny is I had 12 cannabis plants in my backyard while I was growing the hemp in the front yard.
so be aware of your state laws. I have grown for CBD flower in Colorado, but it was within our 12 plant count that we were allowed to have. So yeah, yeah. Well, and it seems like you had kind of a fan base and people were appreciative, and maybe the cops were just like, just let her have her little plants.
The funny thing is I've walked through the neighborhood and I've even had a few people comment on it on me. Every now and then you'll see a random hemp plant in somebody's yard because some of the bird probably propagated one of the seeds or something.
Maybe, or people are flicking them. Maybe it's hemp, maybe it's not. Did you have both male and female plants, or
Yeah,
yeah,
because I
and
wanted to keep the seeds. I have a whole jar of seeds. So I
mm,
will get back to doing that again sometime when I have a yard that I can do that again.
okay. I just think that's such a cool thing. And I remember you posting the pictures of the signs and stuff, and I remember
So
thinking, that's bold.
I have had 2 posts on LinkedIn that have gotten me the most views, reactions, and that's the number 2.
And what was number one?
And number 1 was a post about Jewel.
Well, all right then.
Go figure.
So, Tiny paper. I would like you to tell the story of how you came up with the name, and you kind of already went into why you started Tiny paper. But yeah, I want to know how you came up with the name.
Yeah. Well,
Because
first of
it's
all,
tiny and then there's a little e in the
it
middle of
is. It is
tiny.
a tiny E and everything else is capital for a reason. For those that don't know, I am Tiny E.
Erica, and yes, she is tiny.
Yes, that's what the first thing people see when they see me and they know the name of my company or know me on social media. "Oh, you are Tiny." Yeah, it didn't come from nowhere. So, Tiny E was a nickname that my dad gave me when I was a lot younger, and we used to watch Saturday Night Live all the time and watch Tiny Elvis. "I got one thing to say. That's one big paramecium." And they called him Tiny E. So that's where it originated is from watching Tiny Elvis, and I am tiny.
Mhm.
But my dad passed away in 2017 from cancer, and he was my best friend. He was my biggest cheerleader. I could talk to him about anything and everything. We used to stay up late and get a little tipsy and just have the most in-depth conversations about anything in the world. And
Mhm.
one of the things we used to always talk about was he knew I always wanted to start a company. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's just in my spirit, it's in my blood. I want to solve problems. And we used to talk about that a lot. And also talked about walking your path of life, your purpose, whatever entity you believe in, why they put you on earth, and are you walking that path? And while my dad was alive, I wasn't able to tell him that because I hadn't found this industrial hemp journey yet. And I had formed my first company in 2017, 5 months after he passed away. And I had to name it. And I was stumped as far as what to name my company. I wasn't going to name it Canna anything or Hempy Hoo Hoo or anything like that. Paper is a paper company. It's not a cannabis company to a lot of people. But I remember being in my bed one day, waking up, and it was I had a giant double doors that led to the outside of a patio that I had in the apartment I was in, and I was right on the water. And I always kept my blinds open because nobody could see in. So I remember waking up one morning and I was just in a conundrum of what to name my company. And I looked at the sky and it was the bluest, brightest Sunday morning sky I had seen in a long time. And it reminded me of the sky the morning that I woke up, the night that I knew that my dad had passed away. And I immediately knew that I was looking up at my dad, telling him that I was on my path, and the tiny E just popped into my head. And I I don't know if it came from him. I don't know how it happened, but that's during that moment, I immediately thought of Tiny E, and I'm like, gosh dang it, Tiny E Paper. That's what it's going to be called. And my first company was Tiny E Paper. That had to go away because of COVID and a lot of other reasons. And this became Tiny E Toilet Paper because I'm not going to drop that name. And now I get to talk about my dad a lot. And Maya Angelou once said that nobody really dies if somebody's always talking about them.
Yeah,
So my dad's always alive
that's
and he
awesome.
still inspires me.
What a great legend
Yes. Yes.
story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard the story before, but I always just think it's such a great story
Thanks.
and such an homage to your dad, who I know
Yes.
you love so much.
Yes. He'll be proud of me. He is proud of me.
Of course, he's proud of you.
But that's also
So,
what keeps me determined to keep doing this.
you know, it's been a tough road, right? You have been doing this for years at this point and still haven't broken, or it doesn't feel like that you've gotten that far, which is just crazy to me
I
because
wouldn't say I haven't gotten that far.
right.
I haven't, yes, yes. I have made
I
some
know.
things happen, but
Yeah, no, it seems like you you have something really exciting, some investor that comes along, and then all of a sudden it gets taken away. I don't know the whole story, and I don't know if you want to share. You're most welcome to, but as women in industry, in any industry, right, I feel like we face different challenges than if we were men, and that may well be what's going on here, but I would love for you to get on your soapbox and talk about how tough it's been, and the things that you've had to deal with on your side of this specific industry.
so there's a statistic out there that I wish men would believe. Women only got 2% of all VC money in the years 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. We don't get the same opportunities. And the most frustrating part is that men don't even want to acknowledge that it's a problem. They want to tell us it doesn't exist. And we've got statistics behind it. And I'm looking at you making my case, and you're telling me you're not interested, proving my point, and you're not realizing you're proving my point. It's this weird circle. My frustration is that women are treated differently. When I started my first company and I was going to pitch contests and events and things like that, I used to do that a lot in the San Francisco area. I would be one of only maybe 3 or 4 women in a room of all other men founders. All of the panel was always white men, always white men. And I will say white men because that's the reality. And I'm not going to disguise the truth or hide it. I would watch 20 men founders get up and do a 2-minute pitch in front of me and immediately get peppered with all of these questions. Oh, what are your plans for this? What's your strategy for this? From all these other men. It would take them 10 minutes to get off the stage because of all the questions. And then they get, oh, we'll follow up with you afterwards. I was the first, and I'll never forget this one in particular. I was the first woman that got up out of the 2 others that were behind me. First one that got up and pitched after 20 of these men did. I did my 2-minute pitch giving the same type of detail, same type of plan, same type of strategy, but for my product. And the only comment I got from one of the guys was, oh, that's cute. That was the only comment I got. I got no questions. I got nobody interested. I got no follow-up business cards after we got off the stage. I got nothing. I got told I was cute. And the one thing that somebody did after everybody was milling about after the entire thing, the other 2 women didn't fare any better either. But I'll never forget when the first guy that I tried to go up to, that I tried to have a serious conversation about what my company was doing and why I needed the funding, he took his arm and put it on top of my head like an armrest. He goes, oh, you make a nice armrest. And had his arm on top of my head. And that's how I was treated at my first pitch event.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only woman who has stories like this. And I've also been very vocal about this on social media, and you can look for yourself. All of the comments I get mostly are from men, and all of them are telling me that my problem doesn't exist. All of them are telling me that the data I put in my post, that the proof I put in my post, that the experience that I detailed in my post is not real. It doesn't exist. And I have been holding back from publicizing the last email that I got in writing from a guy that spoke to me in a way that my email retort back to him that he never responded to. My first thing that I said in that was, who do you think you are that you believe it's okay to speak to me like this? And that's what I want to say to almost every guy out there who treats me like that. Who do you think you are over me? And that's the problem that we as women have. We're not the ones that are going to be the ones to get us out of this problem. We need the men out there who do believe us, who do hear us, who do see what we go through. We need them to talk to the men. Because if I go to a man, if I put a post on LinkedIn, they're not hearing it from in the way they need to. And I think that's been one of the most frustrating parts is there are good guys out there. There's good guys with money out there, but we need y'all to come forward. We need y'all to start talking to your buddies, and we need you all to start being an example. And we don't have enough of that right now. And it's been very frustrating. The questions that I get, if I do get asked questions, and I'm finding this with women, we don't get asked the positive questions about how are you going to succeed. We get asked the validation questions of how are you going to guarantee you don't fail? What are you going to do to make sure that this is successful? How are you not going to make sure competition doesn't bite your ass? And we don't get asked any of those. Show me how you've already thought about how this becomes the thing. And that's the other frustrating part too, is we get judged on a different scale. And it's just an inherent bias. We live in a patriarchal system. It's been that way since George Washington wrote the Declaration of Independence. It's written into the Independence when it says all men are created equal. So until men understand that they're the ones that started this, they need to be the ones that help us get out of it, nothing's going to change. And that's really sad because a lot of us women have great ideas. We've got really innovative ideas, game-changing ideas. There's unicorns out here. There's another statistic. Women make 68 cents on the dollar ROI back on an investment versus 33 cents for men. We make more money when we are invested in, and we still can't get the respect to just even be listened to. And I get a lot of people, I'll tell you the story of the one, like I put a big video out on both LinkedIn and Facebook, and I got real excited. I finally got the funding I got, and I finally had a yes, I finally got this. I really thought I did. I thought I did. And I've actually become friends with another gal who was in the same cohort I went through the exact same experience with the same company. They're now out of business. They changed their structure 5 times since then. They stopped answering any emails. They completely ghosted. They took 100 of us women and took all of our business plans, and we never heard from them again. And that happens a lot. Dang, I honestly think the last guy that I'm holding onto this email, I think someday I will publish it, because it's literally, he went through every single trope against women business owners that you could in one email. Like the way he attacked me, told me I was insane, told me I was complaining too much on social media. Nobody invests in complainers. Like just you could hear the wagging. I could hear the shaking of the finger wag while he was bearing over me like this, trying to show his dominance in his words and the way he was speaking to me and writing. So yeah, it's really, really frustrating, but I'm not going to stop talking about this. And I can't tell you how many, not only men, but women tell me that I need to find a man to represent my company and be the one to do my fundraising for me.
I don't think I've ever said that to you, but I
You
have
haven't.
said, have you considered changing your name to Eric?
Yeah, on social media.
And you were like, would you change your name to Andrew? And I was like, you know what? I might consider it.
And I might consider it too. I think we should get a few of us women to do this experiment together, because I
I know it's been done before where, oh, there was an experiment where the CEO and, it was like the CEO was a man and, there was another individual. They traded names. Like
funny.
he was signing off as her and they traded each other's emails, and the way that she was talked to and the way that he was talked to were completely different. Things like, will you set up a meeting with John? And they're talking to John. John's like, why do they want a meeting with me? I'm just as capable. I do this exact same job.
Mm-hmm.
But the men did not want to talk to Rachel. They wanted to talk to John because Rachel doesn't know what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been demonstrated time and time again that women are treated differently. And I have, in multiple companies that I've worked at, I've been asked to do something and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. You need to do that because they're not going to listen to me. I will not get a response. And if I
Same.
do get a response, it's not going to be a favorable one.
Yep. Yep.
Like
Same.
if I'm tasked with contacting all the cultivators I know, if I that's fine if I know them. I know a few, but there's a shit ton more that I could
And you have a
contact.
doctor before your name.
I do, but it doesn't matter. They don't
And
care.
automatic white men. And I'm going to keep making that distinction. It's not all men, and it's not all white men for this either. So don't start attacking me. But a lot of white men automatically just inherently look at a woman and see risk. See risk. That's in the investment world especially. I will tell you, my mom, and this is a lesson that I grew up with. My mom had to change her name when she was in business. My mom worked for companies like Nintendo, where she was quite often the highest ranking woman there, because she was also quite often the only American in a lot of her teams. She was a black belt in Six Sigma and all this other stuff. So she was very accomplished in inventory control and management and things. My mom was working for Nintendo, and her name is Carol. And she was finding that she wasn't getting POs and invoices responded to. She wasn't getting meeting requests responded to. So she changed her name to CJ. And all of a sudden, her entire career changed. All of a
Mhm.
sudden. And I grew up with that lesson. And
Mhm.
my mom got really frustrated with everybody in our family because nobody would call her CJ. And she started really demanding that everybody call her CJ, because she got treated different out in the world than she got treated when she was named Carol. And that's the lesson I grew up with from my own mother.
And you're so stubborn you don't want to change your name.
Well, I'd consider it, but I don't want to be the only one, because that doesn't prove the point. We need a cohort. We need
Yeah.
like A/B testing to prove, and one doesn't prove the data set. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm looking for other chicks to get it.
Well, I know a lot of women scientists too who publish without publishing their first name. It just A Schwabe or A.L. Schwabe.
Yeah,
So nobody knows that it's a female. There's a
yeah.
lot of women who do that because,
So
again, in the science world, they're not taken seriously.
see what
Hmm.
that does.
Just,
But
yeah,
yeah,
just change the picture to something, hemp or
we
whatever.
need to do we need to get like a few women and do, like I said, do a cohort on this, and then we'll do a study and we'll submit that to LinkedIn and say, hey, LinkedIn, we've proved something with your algorithm. That would be
But
interesting.
it's not,
I'm a
it's
data
not,
person.
I don't think it's necessarily anything that LinkedIn is doing. It's just the way that people talk to us.
Except, how do we know that it's not in their algorithm
But I've thought about also creating like a secondary
account?
profile.
But one of the reasons why I am such a stickler on a couple reasons. Nobody can represent my company better than me. I am Tiny E. Nobody can tell that story like I can. Nobody's done this as far as I can. I've already taken the entire process of making and selling for revenue industrial hemp paper. I've gone through that entire cycle. Not a lot of people have. Well, nobody's done this process before like I have. But my other point is, if a woman doesn't prove that we can do this, then we're never going to prove that we can do this. And so, one of the things that I'm vowing to do once I become that butt white billionaire, and I am going to do that, I am then going to reinvest back into women owned companies. I'm going to go find the me's out there that all they needed was some money to make their dreams happen too. And that was my goal from the second I knew that I was going to do this, and I knew I was going to make money doing it. But yeah, I'm going to go find me's out there when I'm able to, and I'm going to invest in the women out there that deserve to be given a chance. There's a lot of us out here. And I'm
It's
even looking at, I spent all yet the last 3 days, because I spend probably about 3 to 4 hours trying to send emails out, trying to find VCs or angel investors on Founders Suite and things like that, trying to get this money. And I asked ChatGPT to give me a list of every single VC, angel fund, anything that was geared toward women or women owned. And I only got a list of like 20 in the entire world. And then of those 20, some of them were in cannabis, some of them weren't. Of those 20, 10 of them have barriers to entry where you've got to have at least $500,000 of revenue. Well, that can't happen in a nascent industry. Or you have to already be Series A, or you have to already do this, or you have to be in fintech, or you have to be in AI. So even in the women-centric funds that are out there, we're creating even more barriers to entry for women. So that
mm-hmm.
even a woman-owned VC is not a real woman-owned VC. They're a woman-owned VC that only allows this percentage of women to even apply. And so that's been the other frustrating part as well.
It's funny that we're trusted to run the household, manage the money, manage the kids, manage
But we can't run a
everything,
business.
make sure everybody has clothes and toothpaste and food, and the bills are paid, and the dogs are fed, and so are the stray cats, and literally everything.
It's frustrating. You'll trust me with your children, but you won't trust me with growing a business into something that's successful.
Right.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But so how do we get over that?
Like you said, I think we need the good men to come forward and to step up and throw our hats into the ring. Say, this lady here, this one, she's
And it
got
would
a
be
great
nice.
idea.
It would be nice for more of the women that have the means. If I could even just get 5 women who have $100,000 that want to be put into this, that is a statement. If I could find some women that will help me get to where I need so that I can pass that forward and find those other women, like I said, that's also what I think we need too. And like I said, we've got women on VCs out there that still have those barriers up that I can't even apply because I don't fit their box. And any woman's going to tell you there's no box that fits one woman.
I've probably asked you this before, but have you ever considered going on Shark Tank?
Yes, everybody tells me that. I'm going to give you a couple reasons why I won't. First of all, Mr. Wonderful is not Mr. Wonderful. He does not believe in cannabis. Twice I have been to fireside chats for C-suite level folks with Mr. Wonderful at MJ BizCon a few years back when embarrassingly we were admitting this guy to speak for us when he's so against us as an industry. He tells all of his investors not to invest into cannabis until it's federally legalized. But twice I saw him in front of C-suite level $1 million revenue generating companies, and he didn't believe that anybody was making $1 million. And he told us all that he doesn't ever believe that in our lifetimes cannabis is going to be federally legalized. And there were literal gasps in the crowd. And I'll never forget, he went through all of these revenue points. Raise your hand if your company's generating $100,000 in revenue. And almost every single hand shot up right away. Whoa, okay, 500,000, maybe only three hands went down. $1 million, maybe another third went down. $10 million, nobody went down. $20 million, maybe five hands went down. He got to like $50 million and there was one hand still up. And I'm not going to tell you who that was, but at that point in time, it might be a little obvious. But Mr. Wonderful was shocked, visibly shocked that there were that many cannabis companies in this room that were making that much money in revenue. And so
Yeah.
that's the first reason. Second reason, they want at least 35% of your company. They want to own a lot of that stuff just because they're a celebrity. I don't need a celebrity to sell my toilet paper. It's toilet paper. Everybody buys it. I don't need a celebrity. I've already got everything in line. I only need the money. And I'm not willing to give up 35% of my company for a pretty face. And that's all that they are. And if you're only asking for this much percent, it's all relative to what you're asking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I learned a lot. I learned how to pitch by watching Shark Tank. For years and years I was addicted to that show. But now it's the same. You see the same pattern, same pattern. And it wasn't until I saw them really poo-poo four different companies that were involved in cannabis in some way, whether it was CBD or something, literally poo-poo them. It wouldn't even give them the time of day. And that's when I'm like, you know what? If you're not even going to listen to us, why am I going to waste my time?
so Mr. Wonderful, Not So Wonderful, Shark Tank is a no-go. The men don't listen, they don't believe us. They can't trust us to run companies, so that's all really sucky.
So
Now,
I am going to give you some not known information right here with Dr. Anna Schwabe.
breaking news. You
Breaking news.
heard it here first.
I have been asked to be a part of a special purpose vehicle, SPV. So I have been invited to be the fifth company that is going to be a part of a fund of funds. So I've got a little bit of something in my back pocket. Any investor that wants to invest with me, I have backup for that investment. This group is connected to some pretty big backers like BlackRock. And so I've been kind of saving that. So when I get somebody that's interested, I can say, hey, not only can you invest in my company, but I can guarantee your bet so that you don't lose anything no matter what happens to me. So that happened probably 5 months ago or so, 5 or 6 months ago. So I've just been kind of bringing it up when I can. And it's just another nugget to this. So I'm baby steps there, but this is something that can help validate me for anybody that is interested in investing. Is I've already got somebody that's invited me to be a part of something that they're doing on a grander scale. So at some point with this fund of funds, I will get funded through them if they get funded before I do individually.
So there is some rumors about changes to policy regulations. Not only are they yapping again about moving to Schedule 3 for the cannabis, the marijuana side, but there's also been some language introduced to change the definition of hemp, which, of course, we all want lab made cannabinoids that haven't been tested for safety and dosing and all that THCP, THCO, HHC, Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10. They don't have the same rigorous testing regulations that marijuana does. And so there's a lot of really shitty products on the shelf that are really making people feel sick. And it's a bad look on the hemp industry because that, of course, is not hemp. It never was supposed to be. And the utilization of a loophole in the regulatory language is not where anybody should be operating, especially when it comes to the cannabis plant, because as taboo as it has always been, it's that stigma is still there. And by doing this shady shit, it's not good. It's not doing us any favors as an industry.
If it
And so,
wasn't in the plant to start with, it's not there for a reason.
well, and specific levels, right? THCP is in the plant and it's more often found in hemp than in the THC type,
Right.
but it's in very, very, very tiny quantities to the point that we didn't even know it was there until a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
So putting 10 mgs or 100 mgs in a gummy is really irresponsible, We don't know anything about it. We don't, it hasn't been tested, hasn't, there's been no safety, toxicity,
We don't
nothing.
even know how that changes the structure of the entire like benefits and how that works with the endocannabinoid
Yeah,
system and
we
things
don't.
like that. Like,
Yes. And so that language I like, I don't have a problem with that. But there's part of the language that is really going to potentially ruin the not only the entire hemp industry, but also the cannabis, the marijuana side as well. And that has to do with seeds. So currently, seeds are considered hemp because they don't contain cannabinoids, or if they do, it's very little because they grew up in a mom and the mom like rubbed off on it or whatever. Like it's something that you can wash off, clean off. But inside the seed, there you can't eat a handful of seeds and get high.
which
So
is why, folks, why hemp seed oil doesn't do anything.
so 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 it's always been considered hemp because it's benign, it's non-toxic, it's not intoxicating. But there is new language to say that if it's a hemp seed from a THC plant, then it's marijuana. Like its origin and what it grows into is what it should be classified as, which would stop all interstate seed commerce.
Mhm.
Um, and it would stop hemp as well because you can't look at a seed and know what it is. You can say it's from a hemp plant, but if you're law enforcement, really what you're going to do is say it's a seed,
Yep.
it's probably THC. And so all of the seed companies are going to go out of business. Interstate seed commerce will cease to exist. And yeah, it's all going to just potentially come to a grinding halt. So I'm wondering, as being an entrepreneur in the hemp industry, what are your feelings on some of these regulation changes or
Um,
potential regulation changes?
this is what happens when you have people making the laws for a plant that don't know the plant, understand the plant, care about the plant, or like the plant. This is what happens is you get weird things that are going to destroy this industry. And it's this is why there's nothing but uncertainty for anybody in the United States right now in this industry, for everybody. And I will be honest, Anna, I don't think a lot of people have thought about this on the seed level. I'm not seeing, except from one person, Steve D'Angelo has been all over this. There are not a lot of people that are understanding how this is going to affect the seed side at all. But yeah, this is why when I'm telling you that I'm setting up shop in Europe, this is why. Because uncertainty does nothing for this industry. Even the CBD ban, putting zero point 0.4 milligrams in an entire container, is going to wipe out the CBD industry because that's not
Mhm.
possible. So there's these little nuggets of bullshit that they've put in here that just that one statement blows everybody out of the water. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because I don't even think that people in the industry understand the language enough that they don't even know what they're fighting for. All the people asking for this 2-year extension on the hemp ban clock ticking is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And saying it's helping farmers, who are you kidding? What farmers? What farmers is it saving? Like the crap that I'm seeing peddled of this regulation, support this, don't support this, is what's going to kill this industry. And you're right about THC. All of this that they're doing to CBD and the industry and then the hemp derived THC stuff, it is all just a mock-up to see how they can get it on, do the same thing on the THC side. And that's why I
Mhm.
don't get the celebration for Schedule 3 either. There's a reason we're not talking about descheduling. We're talking about rescheduling. And all that does is put it in the hands of big pharma. And then it's going to eke out all of the small and independent growers and everybody else. So all of this is leading into government control of this plant. And that is not the healthy thing for this plant at all, for this industry. It ceases to
I
exist.
don't see it being placed in the hands of pharma. We've got all these state programs
Yeah.
legal in Colorado, right? What about Schedule 3 would all of a sudden make it illegal in Colorado? It's already illegal at the federal level. Putting it in Schedule 3, I don't think will necessarily change. that, and I don't think pharma wants to control the plant. They want single molecules, which is
Yeah,
fine. They can have their single molecules.
yeah.
They can do their, have their research and explore new drug ingredients. That's fine. But I don't think we'll ever have to get a doctor prescription to go to a dispensary or CVS to buy our weed. I don't see that happening, and I'm not super worried about that. But the seed thing to me is extremely concerning. And it's a 4.4 milligram or the 4 milligram cap on an entire container.
Entire
So
container.
let's say my hemp flower from Neverwinter Botanicals, it's flower. It is hemp flower. This is Bomb Cyclone. It's the name of this one. It's got 21.6% CBD and 0.7% THC. At harvest, it would have been zero point 0.3. At the pre-harvest test, it would have been compliant because we all know that Colin Clark plays by the rules and is a very good farmer and does what he's told. But, a container like this, if it was full of gummies, zero point 0.4 milligrams, it's going to go way over that. And nobody's going to be able to manufacture CBD gummies or any full spectrum, which is what most people are after
Yeah.
because you need that little bit of THC to make the CBD work. Otherwise, it really doesn't do its thing as well.
I totally agree with you about I am also not scared that we're going to have to get prescriptions and the CVS is what's going to turn into a dispensary and things like that. I don't think anybody was going to let it get that far and I don't think they have the capacity to do that. Is it only for the tax purposes then? Is that why people are just so excited about it? Like, is that it?
I mean, I think that's part of it, but I think that it's going to open the door to research, right? Because currently
Yeah,
it's
but here's the
very,
thing. Research is being done all over the world already. It's just going to open more research up in the United States and we're going to have to we're playing catch up already. The research is being done.
well, not necessarily on the plant. So research institutions still can't do the research on THC type plants. The research that's being done in academic institutions is on hemp, which is fine. And we're just assuming that, a CBD type flower, whatever's going on with it, whatever research is done on it, will translate well to THC types.
So
But
even
they
like in
really
Germany where it's legal, they're not doing a research or anything.
they're not doing more. I think the situation in Germany is weird. Uruguay, same thing. Like it's weird. And the United States is the place where the funding for research exists.
Yeah.
That the United States is where research gets done. I mean, they've been researching it in Israel for a long time, but again, it's sort of molecule research. It's not
Right. And
plant
that's
not
Israel is what I was
crop.
first thinking about. Yeah.
Right. And it's not whole crop research, lighting and cultivation and what happens when you do this and, various, change over time and all that kind of stuff. All kinds of things, right? That
Yeah.
we know about other crops that we don't know about cannabis because we haven't been able to get our hands on it. And when you said the University of Mississippi is also an interesting thing because, they for years and years and years have dominated research grade marijuana. That's the only facility that it's been grown at. And so if you wanted to do some sort of research with marijuana, somebody smoking it, that's where you would get, or extractions, that's where you would get your research material from. And you would have to have a DEA license and all that stuff. But the research grade marijuana that they grow at the University of Mississippi is just for that, right? It's grown outdoors. For that reason, it's probably open pollinated with
Mm,
ditchweed, the stuff that they actually do research on, like for extractions and chemistry and things like that, it's grown indoors. They have a really great program to grow cultivated cannabis indoors, but that's not the stuff they use to give to people
right.
for research
Right.
purposes. But yeah, so moving into Schedule 3 would allow then, the University of Arizona, who does a lot of drug research, they would then be able to do, rodent studies and have rodents drive cars, some high and some not, and see if they.
I am I don't know. There's a group of folks that I'm not really excited for any redoing of anything in cannabis that doesn't include getting people out of prison.
Oh,
That's
I mean, that should have happened as soon as a state legalized it for
Yeah.
recreational
So
use,
that's
right?
that's where my I don't know why people are getting so excited for our Schedule 3 because there's still people sitting in jail that and stuff. That's where my frustration comes from. Is there's a reason we're not talking about descheduling.
Uh,
And letting people out of prison isn't the only reason.
I don't think that that's not the reason for reschedule, but rescheduling to Schedule 3 could be a path to deschedule. It could be the stepping stone where we get to descheduling,
Could be.
because as research opens up, then we find out more about the plant, more research comes out saying it's a good thing, not a bad thing. And then
Agreed.
they go, well, shit, it shouldn't even be in Schedule 3, right?
Right.
The thing about the seeds is really stupid, and I keep talking to people about this too. You can buy poppy seeds in the grocery store.
Yeah.
You grow a poppy seed, it turns into a poppy. You can make opium in your house. Poppy seeds are not regulated. You can grow poppies at your house and you can get your hands on opium poppies. They all produce that compound, but some more than others. And so,
Hmm.
like it's harder to get the actual like hardcore opium poppies. But you grow opium poppies and you can make some stuff for yourself if you like. It's when
Yeah.
you sell it is when you start
That's
getting in trouble.
that's the line.
There's lots of plants that'll fuck you up or kill you that are not regulated. There's datura. You can have a hell of a trip on datura, right?
Hmm.
It might kill you if you don't know what you're doing. There's several cacti that you can
Oh
grow
yeah.
that'll fuck you up. Um,
Ayahuasca.
I don't know. Can you grow ayahuasca? You can grow
You can. It
peyote.
takes a long time.
I think you can grow peyote. I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
I
It
don't
just takes a
don't
long
don't
time.
quote on me, but the oh God, what's it
Oh,
called? There's a cactus that I'm thinking of, and there was a whole movie made about it. I want to say St. John's. That's not right.
mm,
But anyway, there's a cactus that you can even buy it in like stores. You can grow it there. It grows all around California and New Mexico and stuff, and you can make tea out of it and
really,
get all messed up. It seems silly, like regulating seeds. You should be able to have access to seeds. What you do with those seeds, okay, if you're not allowed to have home grow, okay, don't grow it at home, fine, but we
yeah.
should be allowed to grow at home, as and
Yes.
then if we sell it, like, so if I'm a farmer, a small scale farmer. Chris Font actually made this point and I thought it was an amazing point. Like, if you're a small scale, tomato farmer, you can get a cottage license and you can go and you can sell your tomatoes at the farmer's market, right? And you have a license, and if you're spraying pesticides or something on your tomatoes and making people sick, they're going to come and have words with you. Should be like that for cannabis and or
Absolutely.
hemp. And
Absolutely.
if you start selling more, then you there's a next step up to a next level, like maybe a micro cannabis license or a nano cannabis license.
That's
And
called
then
scaling.
so you move from your backyard into a small, shed or warehouse or something, and then you move into a bigger, and then you're a multi-state operator. You have a different sort of license. But I like the idea of, being able to have a cottage license to grow
Washington
cannabis.
State just this week changed their laws so that they now allow 6 plants for you to grow at home.
Didn't they have home grow
I thought
before?
they did, but I just read that 2 days ago that they've now got a new
Or
law for that.
did
I don't
they
know if they
take
went
it?
backwards before because I know that was written into the original law.
So back to seeds. So poppy seeds, you can get them just fine. It's the poppy seed itself is not harmful, not a risk, not a hazard, not a anything. It's a freaking seed.
Yeah.
And it's not until it becomes opium that it's an issue. Same with cannabis. Like the seed
Well, there's
itself,
so
the
many things
plant.
that we can compare to, like alcohol. Like there's so many things we can compare that are worse or like of the same thing, and yet kids can go to a grocery store and buy a thing of beer without any child proof.
You can
You
make
can
wine.
buy a house. Yes, you can
And
distill
if you want,
alcohol.
you can trade it with your friends. It's when you
Yes,
start selling it out of your garage, they're going to have an issue. You need to have a license to sell alcohol, right?
right.
But you were more than welcome to grow your own hops, make your own beer.
You've helped me be a little softer on the Schedule 3, that there is something to be happy about, excited about. I get it.
And it's not, it's not what anybody wants. It's not the ideal
Correct.
thing. Everybody wants to be descheduled. However, I think it's a step in the right direction.
However, I will say, sorry, the Making herself known. I will say the one fantastic thing that happened in that hemp ban time clock bill that was done with the shutdown is it completely validated industrial hemp when they gave it a carve out. And that's the one thing that I see as a shining bright object from this too. But it also helped de-risk the industrial side for investors. We, on a bipartisan level, we had a carve out done that says, yes, this is economically viable.
Yeah.
So there's all these little things that keep happening to validate this plant. And it's just so hard. The last people that need to validate it are the people with money.
Well,
That's
I
it.
think also, with yeah, it got tough during COVID. People didn't want to invest because everybody was like, what's going to happen next? And then things were okay, but we're, trying to get the economy back from that whole,
Oh,
worldwide pandemic. And now we have a new administration. Nobody knows what the hell's going to happen with that. So now again, investors are like, I don't know, man. Like this is, and it's pretty tough right now for a lot of people,
yeah.
as I'm sure most people know. So I just think the investor it still seems like a pretty big risk to invest in anything at the moment because of, tariffs and all kinds of stuff.
Which
So
is why I'm going to Europe. And that
yeah.
helps me take the risk out. The other reason why I'm going to Europe is because on January 1st, they had a new law that it got enacted called that requires right now roughly 50,000 companies of all different shapes and sizes are required to report their scope 1, 2, and 3 ESG emissions. And toilet paper falls under scope 3. Scope 3 is all the stuff that you buy in order to make your company run smoothly, like
Mhm.
soap for the bathrooms, toilet paper, cleaning fluid, all that kind of stuff. Right now, there is no such thing as a scope 3 compliant toilet paper. There's no such thing as ESG compliant toilet paper. Trees and bamboo cannot qualify. So that's the other reason why I'm going to Europe is because the majority of the people that will be required to buy my toilet paper right off the bat, 2 countries in Europe are going to start monetarily fining companies that can't find ESG compliant toilet paper. The logistics is going to be a lot easier for me to be able to ship all around Europe. Yeah, so that's where my pilot trial is going to happen as well. Valmet is the company that I'm partnered with. They're based out of Lucca, Italy, but the machine that I'm going to be using for my trial is in Switzerland. So that's where my pilot trial is going to take place. All of my raw material is coming from Denmark and Finland and France.
Mhm.
So everything logistically that is happening with my company happens in France. My machines are going to be bought and shipped from Lucca. So that's the other reason why I'm staying in Europe is because everything that's where the supply chain exists. That's
So
where I'm
you're
going to
moving there. You're not just going there. You're
go.
actually
I'm
physically
moving.
moving there.
Yep.
And they're
I'm
going to
moving.
take Stella too.
Yes. She's going to be a lay wiener. Oui, oui.
Wait, does she speak? She speaks German, right?
German. Yes. And we've been taking Spanish lessons because I thought I was going to go to Spain, which I still maybe could. My pulping company is involved in a lot of different projects, doing a lot of really interesting things. Like one of the things they're doing is in India, in this certain region of India, they have this culture where they make this candle, and right now they make it out of cow manure. And it's a very symbolic candle for them. And even this part of this Indian culture that even don't live in India, they look for this candle because it's just part of their culture. And my pulpers have come up with a way to make this candle without using something as ESG not compliant as manure is. And they figured out a way to make from waste this candle that still satisfies all of the cultural requirements that this entire culture in India has. And so they're building a facility in India to start making this candle because it's so popular there. So that's
Interesting.
some of the things that my company that these partners of mine are involved in, and they have a project that they're doing in France, and France is helping to fund some of these projects that are coming in. They're a very energy efficient supporting type country. They do a lot with energy credits, with water credits, with clean initiatives, a lot with sustainability. So they're really big on bringing sustainable companies there to hire French people and contribute to their economy.
Mhm.
So the French government is willing to put a little bit of financing into some of these companies too. So that's part of what my funding goes into is going to Europe and setting up shop in Europe. And I've got a
So,
facility that will already be built that I can put my machines in. So
so when's that? Like, do you have a date that you're going, or are you still looking for funding to pull all this together?
funding. I can't do anything without funding.
Well, hopefully somebody's watching and somebody will contact you.
Or even somebody knows somebody. Everybody knows somebody with some money. I'm not looking for all $500,000 at once. I can take tranches. I can take 5 people together, 6 people together. Like, yeah. But this is needed. Toilet paper is needed. You'll get free
Mhm.
toilet paper for life. But
That's
that's the
funny.
thing is it's inevitable. It's all of these different products. And that's the great thing about industrial hemp. There are so many products that we're going to have to start looking at the way that we build them and make them, like this plastic cup right here. Not
Mhm.
very healthy to build right now because of the plastic crap that's in it. So we're going to have to start looking at how we make a lot of the things that are everyday products and how we can make them more sustainable. And time after time after time, industrial hemp's going to be the answer for a lot of these things.
One thing that I do think about too, though, is that no matter how you slice it, when we are growing fields and fields and fields of hemp, it's still a monoculture.
How do we how do we let this plant do what it can do and not have that happen?
You could dedicate part of your land to hemp. I think that breaking up monocultures is always a good idea. Keeping the genetic diversity so that you don't have what happened to the banana and the papaya and the
Yeah,
that sort of thing. But pollinators, when they have to fly that far to get across a field of female cannabis, which isn't necessarily a problem with hemp because you include the males, but even then pollen is more of a snack than it is actual food. But if they have to fly, it's not great.
yeah.
uh
Consequently, the males are the ones that typically have more bast fibers too.
I've
All
heard
the
that.
time
i've
we
heard
like the males.
i've heard the males are better for the fibers.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you specifically want to talk about? This is your time, this is your stage.
I just, why, I guess I've got a question for you, Anna, because I'm scratching my head and I can't figure out why is industrial hemp still so ignored? Why is it not, why do I have to convince people that we're part of the one plant? And why is that still a struggle? From somebody that's outside of the sphere of industrial hemp, what am I missing?
I don't have a good answer for you, but I think the way that we're regulating this plant, I don't think we're doing it correctly. I think the plant should be regulated by end use, like they do in Canada. So if it's for consumption, it needs to go through, all of the hoops and the testing that you would do for a consumable. If you are growing it for fiber or grain, it's a completely different crop. It doesn't need to go through all of that testing. And I think the confusion lies there because, people hear hemp and they automatically think industrial hemp.
Oh,
But most people are like, well, you don't smoke rope. And it's like, no, well, we've got hemp flower that has cannabinoids. You can consume it. We've got gummies that are hemp. And so I think that has confused a lot of people. And then the whole THCA hemp thing and all the blah, 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 blah. But I think it would be better to regulate it to describe it by usage group. Go back to industrial hemp because people are still calling this industrial hemp. This is not industrial hemp. This is a consumable product. This is
correct.
never going to be industrial anything. You're not going to make this into concrete or into paper. This is way too valuable to be made into
Yeah.
toilet paper.
I will tell you, I can use the stalks of both the THC plant
Yeah,
and the CBD plant. They just won't let me right now. But
right.
that's why, so this is why I have been adamant on when I'm talking about the plant to make my product And the industry and the market that I'm talking about, I am adamant about using the word industrial in front of it
Mm-hmm.
because it is different than the medicinal side.
Mm-hmm.
And
Your type of hemp is not sold at 7-Eleven.
no, nor should it be. And the other
Right.
part of that is, and this kind of goes back to the seed problem as well. It frustrates me that farmers get screwed when they have a hot crop that has more than that 0.3% THC in it on the industrial side, because I don't care about that to make paper.
So to be fair, there are states that regulate flower, like CBD hemp flower, going to like smokable flower versus biomass. So like here in New Jersey, if it's flower going to be a smokable product, they will only take the top of the plant,
Right.
like the
They've
things that.
changed that since what happened in 2018 and 2019. That the
Well, no, in New Jersey, if it's going to biomass, like if you're just going to grind it up, or if it's going to fiber or whatever, they take the whole plant and they test the whole. They grind
right.
up the whole plant. So all of your cannabinoids that are in your flower are now concentrated throughout the whole plant, and your THC goes down. So they kind of take into consideration what are you using this for.
And I will tell you, when I was having this problem, they were not growing industrial hemp in Jersey that did anything. That I had no volume in Jersey. All of my volume was in Nebraska and Oklahoma, and that's where they were having the majority of these problems. But there have been some changes that have happened, a little tweaks here and there with different states, but I was having a hard time with it. And I was getting complaints by farmers a lot that sometimes were getting rid of 80% of their fields because they tested hot.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like the regulators could do a better job of asking what is this crop going to when
Yes.
it gets planted, so that they know how they will do the test.
Which
Because
is
if it,
going back to when I said the farmers need to understand. They have
uh,
to have a relationship with folks like me to understand where it's going.
well, and to be fair, I think as a responsible farmer, you should have your contracts in place before you set your seed. Like
Correct.
you shouldn't be growing things and then hoping that you're going to be able to sell the product.
Or if you grow corn and you've got a contract for this and you know you've got 20 bushels of corn left over, you go down to the farmer's market or we don't have that same luxury with this plant because there's not enough of those end people that are using it.
Right.
So, and what I would like to do is I would like to, because the amount of fiber that I'm going to need for toilet paper alone is literally tons and tons. I would love to get co-ops together with a ton of different farmers and like just get some sort of system together with everybody so that we know we can start putting data together and understanding what crops do better in this region and that region and varieties and all this type of stuff. And that's how we regulate pricing and make sure it doesn't get over commoditized. But those are all pipe dreams right now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe people will see this. Maybe people will start paying attention on LinkedIn. Maybe you can organize a co-op. But, if you had a big 18-wheeler that made several stops on the way to a processing facility, and every farmer was able to load up their small, not full trailer, but they could combine, different farms, maybe then it would be worth it.
The one of the great things about America, we have this huge rail system, and there's a lot of ways to do that type of strategy on the rail system versus on trucking systems. That's something I've
Mhm.
actually looked at already when I was thinking that I was going to manufacture here in the States. I was originally going to be working with indigenous tribes, and there's happens to be a lot of land that happens to be right near farm tracks or railroad tracks. So there's a lot of different strategies that you can do logistically when you have the space that we do in the United States, but it's something that really has to be worked on together. You can't just willy-nilly hope and pray that it's going to work out.
You need a solid plan.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you need to tell the people other than you are Erica Halverson?
Yes.
People can find you on LinkedIn.
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm under my name, Erica, Erica, Halverson, HALV as in Victor, ERSON. You can also look up Tiny E toilet paper. I've got my own site on LinkedIn for that as well. If you know anybody who's interested in investing to make this happen, if you yourself might be interested, please reach out to me. My email is also in my LinkedIn, or you can DM me or just ask somebody for my number. Thank you,
It,
Anna. I appreciate it.
it might be Eric
Might
Halverson
be Eric.
mustache. Get a fake mustache. All right.
Thank you,
Well,
Anna.
Erica,
I
you,
just have to thank you because I would never get anywhere if I didn't have opportunities like this to talk about this plant and talk about the struggles and talk about the good things either. So thank you.
well, you always have so much to say, and you always have really good things to say, good information. I think Tiny E, and I always have thought that Tiny E paper and now Tiny E toilet paper has been a good idea. And some of the products that you've managed to come up with, I remember when you were able to figure out a way to make your paper water resistant, waterproof, which would be amazing to have. As a field biologist who has been out in the field in rainstorms, having to take data with very expensive paper and very special pens so that it doesn't all wash away. That is so cool. I don't journal in the bathroom or anything like that. That's not what I would use it for. But even in greenhouses, cannabis greenhouses, sometimes those are very moist environments, and you want moist environment where you need some sort of water resistant paper. I thought
Yeah,
that was such a good idea. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know if it's gone to the wayside or if you're still gonna, keep that on the back burner,
Yep.
but I've always thought you've had such good ideas, good products. You've got a very good business head, and I can't believe that nobody's scooped you up yet, but I
Oh,
really
so I'm
hope.
also patent pending right now for CBD and terpene infused toilet paper that's going to be specific to men and women's pH balances.
And your coochie's right there. And it's a very thin mucous membrane, which is a good way to absorb some of these
And
things.
right now, it's absorbing forever chemicals in the toilet paper you're buying right
Oh.
now. Every woman on earth has traces of carcinogen dioxin in our breast milk that we're feeding to our children just to make paper white.
Yeah, we should have
Yeah.
gone into how they make toilet paper now versus your toilet paper, but we didn't get there today. So we might have to have a part two
There we
at
go.
some point, but we'll have to come up with some more things to talk about. But
Well,
Erica, it's
hopefully,
always,
we'll have a lot more to talk about.
maybe you'll be in France.
Yeah.
Well, again, it was really nice to talk to you again, Erica. A pleasure as always, and it was good to see you, my friend.
You too.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.